A very good evening to all of you. Hi, this is Raju, and if you have any question while we are in session, you can go ahead and raise your concern. So Manjeet is unable to see the PPT, and Niranjan is saying that PPT is visible. So Manjeet, can you log off and log in again? Like, can you try to rejoin Chaitanya? You as well. Please go ahead and try to rejoin. I hope that I am audible. So whatever is there in the content, I am going to express you and going to tell you in audio. So that is also equally important as the presentation. So anyone okay worked on cloud? Yeah, I have got Freddy John. I am just trying to learn about cloud. Tilak Rajan, very basic about cloud. Okay, that's good. Salender is saying that no knowledge on cloud. Varun trying to learn what cloud is. Okay, so let us start then. I think I got the perspective and the intent about the audience. So I will try to give as much as possible. You will be with me for the next 1 hour, and I will try to give you an overview of the cloud, and will equally try to give you if possible, a demo login to the cloud, and also we'll try to address your questions. So let us start now. So when we talk about cloud, right? Cloud is actually a very old term. It was first primarily used in 1960s to define unlimited capacity of compute, because when the industrial revolution was on surge, like in 1960s. There were a lot of industries which were going for a transition from the traditional way of working to the new industrialized way of working, which was powered with compute and memory and disks. So they have a specific small boxes kept into one corner, and they try to do run some operating system that was specific to that, and that size grew from a small box to very big mainframe computers. And these mainframe computers become enormous over a period of time, like from 1960 to 1980. The mainframe were the only computer which were in the market and ruling everything. And the person who knows in and out of the mainframe was like, you can say he is one of the most important person in the compute industry or the computer industry. IBM and Cray systems were the two main competitors at that point of time. We still had the idea of a cloud, but cloud was not formalized as a technology. So after workstation, mainframe came into picture. Then mainframe, like Morse came, and Morse gave a law that okay, every 18 months the number of transistors or an element on a CPU or a PCB board will get doubled. And this continued to a longer extent, and this is very famous as a Morse law. So this all added to the evolution of the computer. So from a small workstation, it became to very large, big mainframe systems, and then the PC evolution came. A small PC is equally powerful as mainframe computers, can do a lot of computing. You can input the data, you can do analytics, you can process the data, you can get the result. And as and when the market, the business grew, like from more business-centric to more market-centric, more consumer-oriented business came. And evolved. Similarly, the computer industry also evolved. So we had then a PC age, which I call it was generally from 80s and 90s. We had a lot of small computers placed in each and every household, and everyone was doing something. It was used for education, it was used for health and research, it was used for life sciences, it was used for business. But what become more complex over a period of time is to go ahead and actually go ahead and get the elements connected, because we were still isolated. Then the phase of internet also evolved. The phase of internet evolved, the phase of email evolved, the phase of social networking evolved out of it. And these came out just because there was a need for all the computers to talk to each other, and the users of those computers to communicate, to see, to talk to the people who is sitting on the other side of the computer. So that was a little bit on the evolution of the computer. and the insurgence of you can say more consumer-centric in compute environment. Now, there were a lot of challenges with the PC model and the PC and the internet model. The main challenge was it was becoming very difficult for the companies, for the internet companies, to go ahead and manage big data centers where all these PCs or high performance small rack mounted machines will be connected to each other. Each one will be hosting one operating system with certain application. As you all you know how the normal application stack is, or OS stack is. So it was becoming very difficult, and there was a very huge demand. Every time it was growing. Every day it was growing. Every minute it was growing. So that led the people in the computer industry think that what we can do next, like what is the next evolution. What now we have evolved from workstation to mainframe to PCs and to internet, and now we have social networking. All the application stacks is there in the market, but what is the next evolution? So they started just looking back, like when computer industry was evolving, what was the consideration at that period of time. So they went back a similar way. IBM also went back, just looked into the records, and they found that there was a concept of cloud computing. And this concept of cloud computing was actually suggested by American scientist. And then they took out all the details, and it was just a concept. So they started actually realizing that concept. So from that they came to they concluded that okay, the most important element of cloud computing is virtualization, which means that the environment needs to be virtualized. Now many of the audience or many of the people I talk to gets confused, like what is virtual. So I tell them that anything you believe is not real is called a virtual at a bare minimum. Anything you think that this cannot exist is virtual. So that way, suppose there is now to explain it into the terms of compute technology, how we can give a example. So let me give you an example. When we work on a laptop is having its own operating system. We can install only one operating system on one laptop. But what if we want multiple operating system? We can do whack, and we can switch to multiple operating system. Is that possible on a single computer? No, it was not initially possible. So how to virtualize it? So there will be various technologies that will be used to virtualize it. Like we have to virtualize the CPU, virtualize the network drivers, virtualize the hard disk, install a virtualization driver, and then create multiple logical partition on logical compute containers or logical memory containers, and keep on allocating to different machine, use it on shared basis. So that's how it was realized. And then the first type of virtualization which came into picture was the server virtualization. That is how VMware came up with ESX, Citrix came up with Xen. Citrix was funding Xen server. Microsoft was working for Hyper-V. So this is how the server virtualization came into picture. That let us install an operating system which has the capability to virtualize. And this was basically called server virtualization. With the advent of this, we will be we became empowered to install and run multiple operating system on the same machine, same laptop, same hardware, and we can share the CPU along with multiple virtual machines which is running. So this was a major breakthrough, and this was the era of virtualization. So similarly, we virtualized storage, we virtualized network, we virtualized file system, we virtualized servers, we virtualized workstation, we virtualized the desktop we use. So this era was, it completely goes to the virtualization age from 2000 to 2005. Now 2005 onwards, what happened that everyone started looking that okay, we have enough compute capacity, how we can use it, like how we can make a best business case out of it. Amazon was the leader at that time. Amazon was the leader in terms of an e-commerce industry. Jeff Bezos, who is actually who is the owner of AWS, who is the CEO of AWS, Amazon, was thinking that I have a lot of machines in my data center. I am using all these machines only during the festive seasons. For example, I can use it during Thanksgiving seasons because that time the cell will increase, the load will increase. My engineer has to work on that to make the application available to the end customer. Similarly, there is a New Year celebration, Christmas celebration. So during this period only, I'm utilizing my machine for most of the time. I'm not using my machine to its maximum capacity or to even half of its capacity. So then we came up with a very good concept of renting this infrastructure to the customer. Now, one differentiating factor between Amazon AWS and VMware was AWS always targeted the retail customer. The customer who has the capability to spend even a single dollar today is empowered to put his foot onto the cloud. So this gave a huge boost to the company. Anyone in US, in India, in China who wants an instance can go ahead, log into the server like they're buying the various, like when we go ahead and browse through the e-commerce portal, look through the different categories and buy some stuff there. In the similar way, this portal was more customer centric. It was for customer, it was developed for customers, and it with an intent that customer will be able to, the end customer, the household customer, the startup companies which doesn't have enough fund to go ahead and buy costly hardware and wait till it gets delivered, plugged together, and then install the application. Let us cater those customers. So this was the differentiating factor between VMware, which was catering to the enterprise, and AWS, which was more catering to the small businesses, a small set of people, students, and people with who is having lower purchase power in terms of setting up their IT infrastructure. Now this has two impacts. The first impact is it actually helped AWS to reach on doorsteps of colleges, universities, the startup companies, and as and when these companies grew, the usage of AWS also grew. AWS in 2005 and 2007, when it was in the initial stage, it was having only 2 to 3 services. Now it is having almost 36 services with different capability, and they work in different capacity with different organizations. So this was the story. But there is but there are some additional things which actually contributed. When we talk about, now most of you will have questions: what is a public cloud, what is a private cloud? So when we talk about public and a private cloud, let us not get confused. It's after all cloud, and how we are using it is making it public and private. So if it is for public usage, if anyone can go ahead, log in, pay a dollar to start off, and get the instances, start the instances, and then set up their business, it is called public. But my data will be hosted in the data center which is outside my premise. It is in some other data center in some other country. Maybe the data will be regulated by the governance rules of that country. It may not be regulated by me. So these are some downside of a public cloud, but still all these challenges has been addressed over a period of time. So as and when you delve deep into AWS, you will come to know that you can host your data very near to your country, if not in your country, or in a country where data theft is considered as a crime. So yeah, so this is about the public cloud. Public cloud is also attributed with a pay as you go model. Like many of you will have question like, okay, I will log into AWS, then AWS will charge me a few dollars, right? AWS will not charge you anything for creating an account in AWS. They will give you 1 year subscription free. So it means that for 1 year you will be able to spin one small instance and do R&D on that. So it will not charge you anything for complete 1 year. Yes, if you are consuming more services, if you are using it for business purpose, they will go ahead and charge you. So this is one aspect of public cloud that is we are going to discuss in this webinar. So we have discussed about virtualization, we have discussed about pay as you go model. What is then private cloud? So private cloud is, you can say it's a replica of public cloud, but it is confined within my data center. It is very much in my data center. It is locked down, no one can access it, but still it empowers me with the capability to go ahead and spin instance on demand. So on demand is very unique term. On demand means I'm thinking of installing Oracle database, or I'm thinking of having a WordPress, or I'm thinking of developing a website or an application like Twitter. Then what I can do, in a traditional IT subsystem, I have to go and procure the hardware, then I have to install the operating system, then obviously I will install the database, and then I will hire some application developers to go ahead and develop the application. This will take a lot of time. It will take a lot of time, lot of money will be spent. If my application is a success, I will make business. If my application is a failure, then I have to scrap the whole infrastructure. Now again, the scrapping cost will be required. For scrapping something, I have to pay to some vendor to go ahead and scrap the environment, or I will sell it at a very less price. So these were the challenges traditionally. Now with public and private cloud, any form of cloud, we have the flexibility to spin the instance at any point of time, whenever we want and whenever our business needs. One important use case I will give you. A payment gateway or billing and the charging system is very important and vital for the cloud platform, regardless of what cloud it is, whether it's a private cloud or a public cloud or a hybrid cloud. Billing and charging systems is a must, because even public cloud is catered to the end customer. End customer, when they log in, right? When they log in, they use certain instances. It means that they are consuming the compute powers. They are consuming some space on some remote storage. So that storage compute power is hosted in some data center. That data center is having some cost around it. The cost of the data operator is bundled into it. The cost of cooling, keeping things up and ready, keeping it business ready, IT enabled ready. So all these things are lead to a certain amount of cost. So if billing and charging system is not related to the, or is not plugged into the cloud usage, then you will lose the track. Like you will never have such a feeling that okay, I am not in a business, or even I cannot improve. I can go ahead and cater it, but I will not be able to improve because there is no inflow of the money for the service I am providing. So that is how billing and charging system are very much plugged in, very well plugged in to these cloud systems. It is very important because the billing and the metering and the chargeback system enables the cloud provider to keep things up to date, ready to get to cater to the client. So I have explained a little about the cloud background, and now we'll go ahead with the with the slides. If you have any question, go ahead and post it. I will definitely try to answer that question, and we'll try to resolve your queries. So here the objective of this module is to understand the cloud computing, know the cloud attributes, service model, deployment methods, right? So when we talk about the cloud attributes and the service model, it's nothing but it's like in what way the customer is using it. What is the model of servicing a end user, whether it is an enterprise, a small and medium business, or it is a individual user, and what are the deployment methods that I am using. So we will discuss about that in the coming few slides. It will also the objective of this session is to give you an introduction to AWS, which is of course one of the leader in public cloud platform. I have worked on cloud almost from past 7 years, and I have seen that none of the cloud vendor, whether it's a Microsoft or Rackspace, has reached to a level of comfort for the end user as AWS has. And AWS has made the UI, the interaction, the service availability so much easy that even a student can go ahead and create instances, launch instances, do a lot of learning onto the cloud. So it masks all the complexity from the user and gives you an interface where you can only go ahead and do what you want, not to get the details, unnecessary details of the infrastructure, and deviate from your main goal of business enablement or your own studies. I have given you a few typical use cases. Going forward, I will give you a few other typical use cases of cloud, and I will also discuss about the various services offering from the AWS. I hope the slide is visible. Now I am on slide 3. Is it visible to all of you? Please write. Okay, yes it is. Yeah. So I would request you to go ahead and pour into your questions. Just go ahead, whatever confusion you are having. This is a common platform. We all are learning, continuously learning and evolving. So go ahead and ask me your queries. If anything you want me to repeat it, I will repeat it with a better use case. So yeah, Vishal Singh is asking, will you show a demo on AWS? Definitely, I will go ahead and show you how to log into AWS and what are the services that is available in AWS. So we are on slide 3. Here you can see that a cloud is considered as different in different contexts as a different thing. Few people say that it is fan, it is wall, it is sphere, because we are actually blindfolded. We don't know what cloud is. That's why we interpret cloud as per our convenience. But whenever going forward, if someone asks you what is cloud, you can say that cloud is a model where we can get an infrastructure, we can develop our application, we can serve the end user. It has 3 components or 3 attributes: virtualization, pay as you go, and on demand. These are the 3 main musketeers which are associated with the cloud. There is no and definitely there are other components like billing and charging system, metering, high availability, auto scaling. So these are the various features. But when we talk about the attributes, only 3 attributes: on demand, virtualization, and pay as you go model. This is specifically true for public clouds. So Varun is saying that a lot of terms used in Amazon like AWS EC2 quite confuses which one I need to choose. So Varun, that I will show you during the demo. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud, ECC. So that's why they have acronymed as EC2. EC2 is nothing but it is a virtual machine. So like we have like we can create virtual machine in VMware, similar way we can create a virtual machine in EC2 in AWS. That virtual machine is called EC2 instance. You will be charged only for the period you are using it. When you shut down the virtual machine, you will not be charged. So yes, that I hope I answer your query. Am I audible to all of you? Because Sam Murthy is saying that like he's not able to hear me. Sam, can you please check your audio device or mic? Okay. Niranjan is saying that how about OpenStack and CloudStack? So Niranjan, OpenStack and CloudStack is actually so OpenStack was developed over a period of time. It was an open source offering. It is used to build the private cloud infrastructure, like we have the public cloud AWS. Now you have a lot of queries how AWS is built on, right? AWS uses similar component as OpenStack or CloudStack, but it is masked from the user, right? It is masked from the user. The technology is almost same, but we as a user or a consumer do not know what kind of virtualization, what kind of pay and billing system, on-demand system AWS uses. OpenStack helps you to build your own private cloud. Like in one machine you can build your OpenStack, on set of machine you can build your OpenStack cloud, which will be similar to AWS and may not scale as AWS because AWS consists of huge data centers spread across multiple countries. OpenStack will help you to replicate and help you to do some engineering R&D on how cloud services are coupled together. Similarly, CloudStack is very similar to OpenStack, but it is an offering from Apache. So Manit is having question, Amazon is free for 1 year, but still ask for credit card details. So do we provide the detail to start with? Manjit, go ahead and provide your credit card details. This is just to confirm that you are entering a valid credit card. It will debit $1 from your account and then it will credit it back to just verify that the details that you are entering is genuine. And yes, it is free for 1 year, but you have to read the license agreements, you have to read the terms and conditions that applies to it. So whenever you are going ahead and creating one instance, make sure that the instance comply with the free tier. If it is not in free tier, you will be charged. And similar is the true similar terms and conditions stands for other cloud AWS services. Yeah, Sam, can you please check if you are able to hear me? Now I'm getting few questions from, yeah, I've got a question from Amit Singh. AWS started with Eucalyptus Cloud as their base platform. Yeah, Amit Singh, to certain extent, yes, but Eucalyptus was actually funded and it was fueled by a company called Canonical. So Canonical was behind funding and fueling Eucalyptus. It is one of the first cloud platform that existed in 2008-2009, and we believed that AWS is also using similar platform, but AWS is now AWS is using not only Yuka, but it is also using a lot of a variant of cloud offering. For example, they are using variant of OpenStack, variant of CloudStack, variant of Eucalyptus, but they have bundled it in such a way that it gives us a unified view. Kumar Swami is having a query: how many cloud commercially available? How to find out which one is the best cloud? So Kumar Swami, there are mainly 8 to 10 vendors out there for public cloud. Major vendors are AWS, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Rackspace, GoGrid, ServerGrid. But out of all these vendors, the three most prominent vendors are AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Rackspace. It depends upon what kind of platform you want. So you can do a comparative study of what is the cost associated with AWS for running an infrastructure, and what if I will set up a similar infrastructure in Azure, how much it will cost me, or for that matter, if I move to Rackspace, what will be the costing model for that? So basically, a business is driven by the fund that is allocated to it, and to better utilize the fund, you can go ahead and you can navigate or deep dive in the commercials which is involved in getting a subscription from AWS, Azure, or Rackspace. Varun is saying AWS is for Windows or Linux or both. Varun, it is for both. You can find both the operating system on AWS. Kumaraswamy is having question: is cloud open source? Kumaraswamy, cloud as a concept is open source. There is no doubt about it. But as I said, that to maintain a cloud, to build the cloud infrastructure, to keep the cloud up and running for the customer requirement, for the client requirement, for the business enablement, there is a cost associated with it. That is why all the cloud vendors, though they use open source technology to build the cloud, they need some money to run their own business. After all, it's a pay as you go model. Like however you are using is how much you are using it. It will be metered, and then you will be charged for that. So that is how it works. But most of the cloud components, be it monitoring, be it VM creation processes, be it the virtualization technologies, most of it, I would say, is from open source. Manjeet Jamwal is saying IBM Bluemix is also one of the major vendor of cloud as PaaS. So for the convenience of all the audience, PaaS actually stands for Platform as a Service. Platform as a Service is a platform where developers can log in, create their own, develop their own app, and sell it online. It is something similar to iStore if you're using it as a platform. Yes, Manjit, you are right. IBM Bluemix is one of the major PaaS provider. But in PaaS, public cloud domain, Microsoft Azure is having edge over IBM Bluemix, and yes, so IBM Microsoft Azure is also emerging as one of the most important PaaS provider, and the services are really awesome, and they provide with very good SLAs, very good uptime for all the PaaS platform. So Vikas Sharma is saying that technically there is no difference between the vendors of the cloud. Technically, no, Vikas, because they offer the same kind of services. From the consumer perspective, technically it is not different, but how they are offering it. Like, for example, you can think it as a cupcake. You can see you have multiple cupcake vendors in the city, but you find that few vendors, few bakeries are creating best of the best cupcakes, right? And few of them are not. So they use the same material, but how they are catering, what are the tweaks and tricks they are using, what is the technological edge they have gained over a period of time due to their experience, is actually a differentiating factor from the other cloud. So as I said, that when you start using AWS and when you start using Microsoft Azure, you will feel that AWS is good in certain contexts, definitely. Microsoft Azure is also good relatively as a PaaS provider when you want to develop some applications. So that is the differentiating factor. Veda Narayanan is saying that AWS is a database like SQL. So Veda Narayanan, SQL is one of the service in AWS that I will be able to show you during my demo. Can we, so Vishal is saying that can we say AWS as infrastructure as a service rather than PaaS, platform as a service? So Vishal, to answer your query, AWS provides both IaaS and PaaS. So I will move into the next slide in the interest of time. Yeah. So this is what the Forrester says about the cloud. According to Forrester, cloud computing is defined as a form of standardized IT capability, such as the internet-based services, softwares, or IT infrastructure offered by a service provider that is accessible via internet protocol from any computer, is always available and scales automatically to adjust the demand, is either pay per use or advertising based, has web or programmatic based control interface, and enables full customer self-service. So this is what I have said, and I have explained in past few minutes that it is completely internet based. So you got to connect it, hook up with the internet in the first place itself. It is available to you as a web interface as well as command line interface. So you can, if you are very geek and you work mostly on command line interface, it is available for you. If you are you don't want to go into the messy world of the codes, you can go ahead and you can get a very nice UI. From there you can go ahead and create, because it is at the end goal of the cloud computing companies is to make it more and more user friendly. It is again, it's pay per use. However, how much you are using, you will be charged for that. So cloud computing companies, the vendor of the cloud computing, keeps metering always enable on the stuff that you're using, on the services that you're using, and you will be charged for that. You will not be charged for what you are not using. So this is one of the differentiating factor. For example, in a physical data center, if I keep my server, I have to pay for that, for the space, for the electricity, for powering, for the cooling of the machine. I have to pay for everything, even though if I'm not using it. But in cloud, it's not like that. You can bring up the instances when you want. You will be charged for that. You shut down it, you will not be charged for that. So here in the slide, you can see the one term is quite commonly used in cloud computing. It's called SMAC. It stands for Social Mobility Analytics, and all in circles the cloud component. Means with cloud you can do all these things, like you can have analytics service up and running, you can connect with each other, you can create a social networking website on the cloud in quick span of few minutes, and you can use also, you can create a mobile app and get connected, and you can get connected from anywhere in the world. It is not like that you have to stick with your laptop. You can use your laptop, you can use your mobile, you can use your desktop at your office to get connected and browse through it. So as long as you're connected to internet, you are a cloud user. Here you can see these are the various attributes: service model and deployment model. On the top of it, you can see the attributes. So we have attributes such as broad network access, rapid elasticity, measured service pay as you go, on demand service, as I said, and resource pooling. So I'm not saying that you should remember all these things. You can just remember that attributes are pay as you go, on demand, resource pooling or virtualization, and elasticity. Why elasticity? Elasticity has been derived from virtualization. It gives you an illusion that whatever service that you're using is infinite. It is not finite. It's not finite. It is not bounded by any limitation. You will never get to know what is the limit of a data center in AWS. So you can say that it's elastic, it's on demand, and it's pay as you go. Now, when we look at the service model, on the bottom of the slide, you can see in the service model we have SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. And now there is another addition which is called XaaS. So what is SaaS? SaaS is something like email. Everyone will have an email ID on Gmail, MSN, Hotmail, Yahoo, right? So it's a SaaS service. Like if I'm sitting in an organization, I will have an Exchange server, or I will have a Linux mail server, and I will be using it within my organization. If I want to access my company's email, I have to get connected to my company VPN, and then I will be able to access it. If company is little liberal, or they want their employee to access the email from outside as well, they will give you the access to the web mail, or in some cases your email can sync over internet as well. So anything, but that doesn't make a company corporate email or mailing system as a SaaS emailing system. SaaS stands for a service which is consumed by the user all across the world, regardless of where they are located, as long as they have access to the internet. And if they want some premium service, they can pay for it and use it. So this is what is meant by SaaS service. Similarly, is Facebook, your payment gateway like PayPal and Builders. These are the SaaS services which is available. SaaS stands for software as a service. Platform as a service is something which is available to you to build your platform, to test your platform, to test your app, to build an application, build a website, and host it. So that stands for platform as a service. Infrastructure as a service is something which is, you want an instance, you want some storage, you want Google Drive, you want SkyDrive, or it's something similar service as IaaS. But it is accessible through mail, so don't get confused with SaaS and IaaS. IaaS is basically, you can think it of as a virtual machine which is available to you whenever you want, a desktop which is available to you as soon as you want. So that defines the service model. And then we have public, like deployment models. I have said you have public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, community cloud. So we'll talk more on the public and the private cloud and hybrid cloud. Community deployment model still has not evolved as a deployment model. So we are basically taking into consideration public, private, and hybrid. You must be wondering, what is this multi-tenant? So multi-tenant is something like AWS can host multiple customers, multiple retail customers, multiple customers or clients from different walk of business. For example, they can have a grocery shop which is trying to host their website online. They can have a hospital which wants patient to track the patient ID and get the information. They can have a college which publishes the result online by creating a website. So they can host multiple clients. That's why it is called multi-tenant. Private cloud is single tenant. Only one client you can have it on private cloud. Like you can set up. So obviously, when you're setting up your own private infrastructure, setting up your server, you don't want somebody else to come and host his application, or somebody else to use your infrastructure. That's why it is always single tenant. A mixture of both is called hybrid. For example, what is the use case of a hybrid? So the use case of a hybrid is, suppose I have an application and it is having a database. Now that database contains critical information like the customer name, customer details like phone numbers, email address, and it also is having some customer sensitive data like the salary of the customer or the payroll systems. You don't want this data to be hosted in a public data center in some other country. So you create your own infrastructure and you put the data here, data there in the private cloud. However, you want to expose this information to the user if they have certain security guidelines to enter and log in into the website and check their details. So that you want to do. So for that, you can go ahead and create a website into the public cloud, run a tunnel from public cloud to your private cloud, so that data, see, if we are connecting our public cloud to the private cloud, data will flow in through the internet, which is not secure. Anything on internet is not secure. So how we can make it more secure? We can run a tunnel. Tunnel is nothing but it will encrypt data at one end, and then it will put the data to the other end point, and there it will get decrypted, and similar is to and fro communication. So here is what we this slide discusses about what is AWS, overview of AWS. AWS free tier, 1 year free tier for all the services. Then we have basic keywords like AMI, instance, volume, snapshots. This I will show you when I will show you a demo. This is the representation of elasticity. You will be paying as long as you will be using it. So it draws a comparison between your traditional hardware, where you have to pay whenever you are not using it, or if you are using it, it doesn't matter. But when you are in cloud, you have to pay only for the time you are using it. This is a very interesting presentation. Here it shows that the blue mark, it basically shows that AWS edge locations, okay, and the orange mark shows that it is the region. So we'll not talk about edge location because that is not in context actually. We will talk more about the region, and then we'll talk about the availability zone, because you will hear a lot about availability zone. What is availability zone? What are the regions? So regions are basically the countries, and in country we have different regions. Like every country is having 4 direction: east, west, north, south, right? So which country, which region? So I can have US East, I can have US West. In US East, I have 2 data centers. So I will mark it as US East 1A, US East 1B. If US West is having 3 data centers, then it will become US West 1A, US West 1B, US West 1C. So like that is the demarcation. So the reason is US, but I have different availability zones, AZ. So different availability zones. So what are those AZs? So AZ is in which region. Like if it is US West, okay, I will mark it as US East or US West. Which data center? It's 1A, 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, 2B, 2C. So there is no strict guidelines about how they are marked. But whenever someone says that like when I log in, I see it's North Virginia, then I will immediately come to know that okay, it is in US East or US West. So that I will show you during the demo. This also talks a lot about EC2. I would like to take up few questions right now here. Okay, few questions are coming up. So Lokendra Saini, he is having a query: in which service model, SaaS, PaaS or IaaS, task scheduling is used the most? So Lokendra, task scheduling is used for all the models, regardless of which model you are using. It will be used for all the models, because task scheduling is an important compute intensive program. It takes some compute power, some memory power to do scheduling. Mostly it is used in IaaS, but since SaaS, software as a service, and PaaS, platform as a service, is consuming IaaS infrastructure. If infrastructure is not there, you cannot build SaaS or PaaS. So it is tightly coupled with IaaS. So that's how internally they are also using the same task scheduling features. So we'll talk a little about Compute EC2. Compute EC2, as I said, it's basically a web service that enables to launch and manage the server instance. Instance available in different sizes and configuration. Use only the capacity you need and pay only for that you use. That is what I said, that it is like there are different types of EC2 instances, and whatever you want to use, you use it. For example, there will be EC2 instance with 1 GB of RAM and 1 GB of and 1 V CPU. In that case, you have to pay only for that. If you're using an instance with 8 GB of RAM and 4 V CPU, you have to pay a little extra bucks. So it depends upon what kind of EC2 instances that you're looking for. It supports both horizontal and vertical scaling. Pre-built AMI is there from the marketplace, which you can go ahead and have it. Marketplace is the area where all these AMIs will be hosted. So either you can build your own personalized AMI, or you can go ahead and handpick it from the marketplace. Marketplace is the place where you will find most of the open source AMIs or AMIs which are built by somebody and they want the community to use it. Also, Compute EC2 has various pricing models like on-demand, spot, and reserve instances. Here you will also learn about the storage. So storage is one of the key component of cloud. Everyone wants to store the data onto the cloud. Few people who are like when we work in an IT organization, we always have the habit of uploading files into a remote drive and keep it safe, because we think that okay, our hard disk may crash at any point of time. Some people will carry a USB drive with 1 TB or 500 GB and they will store data onto it. But there is a technological difference between the storage that we use. Generally on our laptop or on our servers, what we do, we have a disk, and first thing we do is before loading the operating system, we format it. So we attach the disk and then we format it. We format it with a file system. This file system can be NTFS or ext2 or ext3 or ext4 based on the operating system which supports it. So Windows supports NTFS, Linux supports ext2, ext3, ext4. FAT is the file system which is supported by both Linux and Unix, Unix and Windows. So you go ahead, you create a partition, and then there will be a sector called partition table where we will have all the information, which component, which block US is where, and it will maintain an inode. So it basically stores the data in form of blocks. So that is why it is called a block storage. So for installing an operating system, you need to format the hard drive with a file system which is supports, that is EBS. But there are some other volume storage which is available. For example, a NAS drive, a quota, that when you log in, you see a drive mapped with 50 GB of quota. Now that is a NAS drive. It is on a remote system and I can access it only via CIFS file system. That is common internet based file systems. So the file system is mapped on my machine and I can move it. I did not format it with NTFS or ext2 because it is not native to my hardware. It is in some remote location already formatted and mapped to my machine, so I'm using it. That is called a NAS drive. Now the third evolution of the storage is the object storage. Object storage is very powerful. Why it is powerful? Because it can store all kind of information that you want. It can store the PNG file, it can store JPG file, SVG file, it can store a movie. The size can be from few KBs to 5 TB, the size of the object, and it will store everything as an object with certain object attributes and access keys that it stores. Why it is more powerful? You can ask me why it is more powerful. Because if you try to store a file of 5 TB, even though if you have a local hard drive of 10 TB, a file of size 5 TB, you cannot store it because your native file system like NTFS, ext2, ext3, ext4 doesn't support that big block sizes on the hard disk. Similarly, it is not possible to store those objects on NAS, big objects. So you can store it on object storage. Similarly, other differentiating factor that when we store some file on our hard disk or on remotely mounted drives, it compresses that. It does, the compression algorithm comes into picture. It compresses the file. Now you must have seen that when you are storing some data on your drive and retrieving it, the resolution of the JPG or PNG file is not that good because it has compressed the content. That is not the case in object storage. Object storage doesn't compress your files. It stores as it is. That is why in cloud we have two types of storage. One is your SAN and NAS, which is basically your EBS volumes. Second one is your S3, that is simple storage services, which is actually an object store. Yeah, so so Edureka has actually compiled the courses in 8 modules. This course basically targets towards getting AWS Architect or Associate Architect certification. Module 1 talks about the cloud computing, which we have talked today. Module 2 talks about EC2 and EBS volume, which glimpses of which I have given it to you today. What is this? EBS basically stands for Elastic Block Storage. Module 3 talk about S3, which is the object storage and RRS, Glaciers. Module 4 is about scaling and load distribution in AWS, needed for the real businesses. Module 5 is identity and access management, who is going to access and what. So it basically authentication and authorizations. Module 6 is mostly on various AWS services which is available in AWS. It's not about only EC2 or EBS or S3, but it is all about their PaaS services which is available, SaaS services which is available. So we'll talk about that. Module 5 is AWS architecture and design. There you will get to know how the AWS is featured in the backend. So that's how you will get insight into it. And module 8 basically covers your projects. So when you will go through the AWS architect certification, you will know that it requires real hands-on on AWS to get the certification. And once you are clear with your concept, you can go ahead, have good hands-on, and then you can start doing your projects. It will work like this. You will have a live online classes. You will have class recording available in learning management systems. You will have 24/7 post-class support. If you have any question, there is a module wise quiz that we used to participate during the class. You have project work, and then you have a verifiable certificate that you have completed the course from Edureka. So before I go ahead and take questions on this, let me showcase you a demo. Are you with me? Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my browser? Okay. Yeah, go ahead and click my account. You can go ahead and try for free and go ahead and register with your credit card. Trust me, it will not deduct any dollar, not a single dollar from your account unless and until you are using the services. So I'm just showing you. Go here, click AWS Management Console. This is the dashboard. In this dashboard, you can see all the services: EC2, Lambda, EC2 Container Services, S3, Elastic File System, Storage Gateway, Glacier, Front End, CloudWatch, Config, CloudTrail. Each of these are having different features. Under Config, we have 3 services. Under storage, we have 5 services. Under database, we have these many databases. We have IDS, where we offer, like AWS offer MySQL, Postgres, Oracle, SQL Server. DynamoDB is predictable and scalable NoSQL database. And then Elastic Cache, in-memory cache is there. Redshift is there. You can also create a virtual private cloud, which comes under networking. You have Route 53. Now, why it is called Route 53? Because 53 is the default for port of the DNS. So you can it can work as a distributed DNS, which is very scalable. It works very fast, replicates very fast. You will also have a lot of administrative and security. You have directory services here, identity and access management, which is IAM, trusted advisor, CloudTrail, Config, CloudWatch. CloudWatch is used for monitoring an instance, which service is up, which service is down. And the data of CloudWatch is very important, because once your CPU, for example, suppose you want to, you have a farm of servers. In that farm, you have 10 servers, but during the load, during the day, when your business starts, the load is low, but as and when time escapes and many people logs into your website, the load increases. CloudWatch keeps on monitoring the system utilization. When the system utilization crosses a threshold like 80% or 90%, it goes ahead and spawns few more instances and distributes the load. So it is very important. It works as a very important input for load balancers and auto scaling. Similarly, you can see deployment and management analytics for Elastic MapReduce. Here you can see a mailing service here from as a work mail. You have SQS and all the services. I will just walk you through how to create a VM using EC2 services. Click launch instance and you can see how easy it is. These are the operating systems which are available. So I want to install the Microsoft 2012 server with SQL. I will go ahead. Here I can see. Here you can see it's T2. So with T2 you can have the selected one vCPU and 2 GB of RAM. If I change the instance type to T2.large, I will have 2 vCPU and 8 GB memory. I will go ahead, move to the next, number of instances launched, and all the relevant information. I can add as storage, how many GB you want. I can put it as 100 GB of hard disk I want. You can tag it. Tag it means Windows SQL 2012. Attach a security group. This is very important. Security group, which port you want to open. This is a MS SQL server, so we'll have MS SQL port as well as RDP port. Otherwise, we will not able to do RDP. Review and launch. It will go ahead and launch it. Once it is launched, you can go ahead and get the IP address from here. It will have a public DNS. Go to MSTSC, put the IP address and get connected. You will have another question. From where will I get the password? Right? The password you will get only when you will launch the instance. It will ask you to download the encrypted password. Download the encrypted password. Once you download it, you can decrypt it online by logging here. And after decrypting it, it will give you a string of the password. You log into the server, change the password. That's how it works. I hope you have enjoyed the session. Now this is the question time. Just go ahead and fire questions. So, are you able to hear me? Because I am finding lot many people are complaining that screen has freezed. Okay. So, did you see the demo which I have shown you? It was showing frozen, but it was not frozen. It took some time to load the content because the content is little heavy when we log into the AWS website. So I will take few questions. So AWS gives us option of choosing OS. This is the question from Manjit Jamwal. Yes, Manjit, whichever operating system that you want is available. Most of the operating system that we want, except few vendor specific operating system. For example, Red Hat Linux is not available. Why? Because Red Hat has not published its AMI on AWS. So what we can use, we use CentOS with CentOS, which is very similar to RHEL. So all kind of operating system, most of the operating system is available. There is a question from Lokendra Sani. If I use LAN instead of internet for storage and compute, is it cloud computing technically? Salendra, no. LAN, as you have seen that cloud computing is actually having two variants, two deployment methods. One is your private cloud and public cloud. We are mostly talking about the public cloud, which is not possible to build up through local area network. You will always have to be connected via the internet. That is the intent of public cloud. It should be publicly available to each and everyone. For private cloud, yes, you can use it within your own LAN. The difference between public and private cloud is public cloud give you an illusion that the resources is available and is elastic. It can expand elastically. It can shrink elastically based on your usage. But in private cloud, we have finite resources, so we have to use that. So elasticity is something which private cloud lacks. So Salinder Singh is saying, how can we get the recording and PPT of this webinar? Salinder Singh, you can go ahead and write to support@edureka.co. They are working 24/7. That is the support team that we are having. They will get back to you with the links. Kumar Swami is having a question. While booming up mobile application for shopping goods, will web services for shopping withstand? So this question is very interesting from Kumar Swami. Like, we have a lot of mobile application for shopping goods, right? Well, the web services, how we are going to position web services for shopping. So Kumar Swami, this is very interesting question. To answer this query, most of the web application you are using on your mobile is somewhere hosted into the cloud. So you can see, for example, even WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp is having a web app. Web app WhatsApp is hosted somewhere in the cloud. that is doing two, that is having two functions. One is to cater your mobile WhatsApp request, and to cater your online when you are logging to the web browser. So you can access it either ways, but the actual backend will be somewhere in the cloud. So the cloud will always be the stand, whether you are using a mobile app, because eventually it will go ahead and connect to the cloud, and then at the backend it will connect to the desired hardware. So Freddy John is saying that we can't see anything past your login screen. So Freddy, are you able to see my screen right now? Can you go ahead? I will show you the demo once again. Yes. So I will show you the demo once again for those who felt that, or who found that the screen was somewhat frozen. So I'm logged into my AWS console. I can click launch instance. I will select, oh, Red Hat is available. Here you can see Red Hat is also available, made available to AWS. So here you can see marketplace. You can go to the marketplace and you can buy the AMI. If you want to use open source AMI, I will use Apache AMI. Let me use, launch Apache AMI. I will go ahead and select it. Okay, this does not support it. Here you can see it is marked as most of them are disabled. Why? Because it is not supported in that, like it doesn't come with 8 GB of 8 vCPU and 30 GB of RAM. It only comes as 1 vCPU and 1.7 GB of RAM. So that is quite interesting. Most of the instances are disabled. No issues. We'll go ahead and we'll configure the instance. Here I have selected the instance as 1, and rest of the I will leave it default. I will add a volume to it. Okay. Next I will tag it, and then I can launch. I will click launch and I will be able to launch it. So that's how it works. I hope this time I could show you the demo. So Niranjan is saying how to get the public IP. Niranjan, you can get the public IP as soon as you launch it. So every instance is having one public IP associated with it, and but that is the dynamic public IP. It gets changed whenever your server reboots. When your server is not rebooting, the IP address remains the same. But even though you want to get rid of the situation of rebooting, you expect that your server will reboot. How to freeze the IP address? In that case, you can get one elastic IP. So on my screen, you can see an elastic IP option here. You can go ahead and get one public elastic IP. Allocate a new address, and it will give you a new IP address. Freddy is saying, what is hybrid cloud? So Freddy, hybrid cloud is an environment where we have a public cloud as well as a private cloud connected to each other through a tunnel. So we keep all our database in private cloud setup, and then we keep our website or public facing content on like websites and the CMS and all the data needed for my website on public cloud, and then we run a tunnel for both the ends to encrypt the data and transact the information. So so I am almost done with the session. There is one last question from few guys. What about the licensing part? So Vikas is asking what about the licensing. So Vikas, licensing cost you have to pay as an additional cost. For example, I am using Linux with an Oracle with Oracle installed. I have to, so if it is an open source Linux, I need not to pay. If it is real Linux, then I have to pay the hosting charges. That is the basic charges to the to AWS. It will be bundled with your licensing cost of RHEL. Like what is the licensing cost of the RHEL, and then you have to pay again the Oracle cost. Oracle licensing cost. Oracle licensing cost works like this. If it is for development, you need not to pay. If it is for production, then you have to pay for that. So that liability is completely on the user, whether he or she is going and using or misusing that licensing model. AWS reference itself, it gives you the platform, and few of the costs are bundled in the instance offering. Few of the costs are separate, and you have to but it will again be charged via invoicing methodology, metering and billing, and AWS will not keep that money. It will send it back to the vendor. For example, if you're using Oracle for commercial purpose on a real machine, AWS will charge you for the bundled cost will be the same in the invoice, but it will segregate the bills. It will keep the hosting charges of the instance, RHEL, operating system license cost, it will send it to Red Hat, and Oracle licensing cost, it will send it to Red Hat. So that is the model that it works. One more question from Tilak Rajan: what is snapshot? So a snapshot is actually a backup and recovery strategy. We can take a snapshot from a machine and we can recover the machine at any point of time later. And when we are recovering it, it will come to the point where we have taken the snapshot. So yeah, so we are done with this today's webinar. Any question, just go ahead and post on support@edureka.com. Thanks for watching this webinar. You can go ahead and post your feedback as well. When you end up this session, you will be prompted for a feedback session. So go ahead and do that. And wish you all the luck for going ahead and exploring the cloud technology. I request all of you to go ahead and create an AWS account. Trust me, it will not charge you a single dollar unless and until you consume some services. So go ahead and best of luck and have a good day. Thank you.